Welcome to the Salesforce Admins Podcast. This week, Jennifer Lee returns to the pod to break down what's new in the Summer 25 release. And trust me, it's more than sunshine and good vibes. If you read her blog post that she put out earlier in May, from long-awaited case close buttons to a major user management upgrade, I promise you Jennifer is going to walk us through some features that make your admin life easier. Plus, we dig into flow enhancements, better debugging, and why thoughtful resource naming still matters. I mean, we can't not talk flow with Jennifer Lee. That's just how it works. If you've ever been wondering what to focus on with your attention to this release cycle, this is your episode. Super fun to go through. Now, if you enjoy this episode, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. So with that, let's get Jennifer back on the podcast. So Jen, welcome back to the podcast.
Always love being here.
I mean, it's summer already. It feels like it was just spring. We were just talking about spring and now it's summer. Isn't this how it always works?
Well, now I'm actually feeling summer for real in Boston. It's hot out. I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah, because I mean, every time I've been to Boston, it's either snow, really hot, or snow.
Yeah. And it was cold probably a few days ago too. So I'll take it.
Right. Yep. That's okay. But with summer comes summer release. And we're a little behind. We're not too terribly far behind, but you did put out a blog post back in May about Summer 25 features for admins. So I figured we could talk through those because sometimes there's stuff that you learn after you write about it that you wanted to bring up that maybe you didn't get a chance to bring up. So that's where we're going to start. But before we do that, what other things are you working on? Anything fun you want to share?
I'm always learning more, like with our admins, learning more about Agentforce. So currently working on a video, should be out shortly. So we'll say that. And again, working on a new series. We should have that out not too long from now. So a lot of things in the works.
Cool. I know. There's always fun stuff. Always fun stuff. But, well, let's talk release stuff. So what were some of your top features this summer?
Okay, so for those who have case management, right, you always had to create your own custom close button. And it's the little things. It's the little things in these releases that make it, right? Uh-huh. So now there's a standard close button. You don't need to go and make your own. You can just bring in the standard close button to your record page layout and boom, on your page layout, you can just say close case and it works.
Oh.
Again, the little tiny things.
But you know what? I mean, sometimes release stuff doesn't have to be like, look at this giant 60,000 foot tower I built.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, look at this little stool that you can now close your cases with.
Yeah. And another thing I like, so bringing me back to my admin days, is when you go and you try to delete an object, right? And it just goes, wah, wah, wah.
Nope,
you got other stuff going on there. You have dependencies. You can't delete it. And then you had to go and find all the places.
Yeah.
That was not fun.
No. Not
fun at all. But with this release, now when you try to delete an object, it'll say you can't delete it, but it'll show you all the dependencies, so all the object and the fields, and then it gives you a hyperlink. So then you can go and click on that and easily find the thing that you have to delete before you can actually go ahead and delete the object. So again, it's the little tiny things like that. And Cheryl Feldman's team continues to deliver and make enhancements to user management, because we all know user management can be a mess.
Uh-huh.
But she's delivering stuff to make lives easier for admins so that we can focus on the cooler things that we can build out. But here are some of the highlights on the things that her team is delivering in this release. So when you're in Object Manager on an object, you can now go to the access page, and from there, you can review and add and remove permissions from custom profiles and permission sets and not have to navigate away. So your object access is right there. Your field level access is right there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. These are like huge.
Yeah, I'm looking at the gifs that you have in that blog post.
I love making gifs.
I know it's kind of
it really brings a feature to life.
Here's a pro tip. As you listen to this podcast, look at the blog post and it's like surround sound. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
Oh, no worries. Another thing is on the permission set summary page. Again, it's not having to click all these places to do the thing, but on the permission set summary, you can now update user, object, field, and custom permissions right there. Again, you don't need to navigate away to those places to do it. Same thing with permission set groups. On that summary page, you can add and remove permissions within your permission set group. So that's great. And then additionally on the user summary page, so on the user record, you click that summary button. From there, you can edit tab access directly, and then you can add or remove assignments for the user to perm sets, groups, and queues.
I think that tab thing's probably the coolest thing.
Mm-hmm.
That if you've ever had to go through and figure out
where it is.
I mean, just like, oh, where did I stick that tab on these 10 applications, or who can see this, or why? There was always one user that just randomly had a tab show up.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, let me go fix that.
And as it relates to user management, if you haven't tried out Salesforce Go, I recommend you go and do that. That really simplifies when you're setting up your features. And it also provides access to like videos, and you can do tours, or it points you to some trailhead modules and guides you through how to enable features based on your edition that you have in your org, and also whatever clouds you have. So if you have Sales Cloud, there's a Sales Cloud section, Service Cloud section. So it really makes enabling features in your org much easier.
Yeah. So Salesforce Go, you should go check it out.
Like
go,
that.
Go.
All right. And no release would be complete without me talking about flow.
I mean, I feel like at this point, it's the sound of like clouds separating, flow, and like angels singing.
Yeah. So
you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Let's talk about flow.
I can talk about flow all day long, as you know, Mike.
I know.
So in the get records element, when you're doing get records for whatever object it is, you can now have the ability to get the related records as well, right? Ooh. Before, you would have your one get records for the object, and then you would do another get records for the related objects. Now you could do it all in one, right? And then when you click and you say, oh, I want related records, then from there, there's an interface that allows you to select the fields for that record and do filtering and all that.
Does that apply to, obviously it's master detail, but what about lookup relationship?
I believe it's right now
master detail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I figured. But still.
Yeah, it's still big. Huh.
Get records, account. Hello.
Yep. And so when you're finding your resources, let's say in your flow, you have a lot of things you want to look up or related and all that. You now can use the expanded resources search, which you have to enable and set up. And then it'll be available in your flow to quickly find resources. So one thing to note was we did push this out. So something similar to this in winter. And we took it back, and then based on customer feedback, we brought it back and improved it.
Oh. Do you have, while we're talking resources, do you have, because I was looking at your GIF, and I would imagine you have a methodology for how you name your resources. How would you advise admins name their resources? Because obviously this is super powerful.
Yeah. So when I create my own custom resources, I do have a certain naming convention. So if I have variables, I'll do a VAR in the front of it.
Okay.
So I can easily find those. Or if I have a record collection, I'll always have the word collection in there so I can easily find it. Or like if you're using a text template, the word text template or formula. So I'll just put those like little keywords so that when you're doing the search and you know it's the thing that you're looking for, you can easily type that in and then it'll like show up in the search.
Yeah. No, it's smart. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah. And then for people who have flows that deal with time, we now have the time data type that you can use, and you can also reference time formulas as well in your flows. So that's huge for people who have those time dependent flows.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that gives me a little bit of anxiety. I see minute is an option.
Mm-hmm.
And second, holy cow, second. Bless you people that have time dependent flows.
Yeah, I had a few of those as a customer. So.
What would be an example of that? Like, was it on cases mostly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you need to follow up or it needs to do something like hippity hop right now.
Yeah, we were a big Service Cloud customer. So yeah.
So based on how old that case is or how long that's been, yeah, I could see that. Boy, whew, testing.
And so the Flow team has also made enhancements to debug. So now it has a slightly different UI, but it's so much easier to debug your flows. They now have element level summaries, and you also have search capabilities within the debug. So let's say you're working through and you have a variable that you're just checking to see if the data flows through in the various elements. You can do a search on that variable name and it'll pop up and like kind of highlight where it is in the debug elements so that you can go through. You can also show like API names and things like that. So it's really more interactive than it was previously.
Yeah, that makes sense. Boy, that's got to be helpful.
Yeah. And for admins who have approvals as part of your process, there's now a new wizard will help you build your flow approvals. Because I never really use approvals. Like I never really had a need to use approvals in my business, but the process of going through the approval process seemed really clunky.
I built approvals a few times. And the problem I always had is the company kept changing the approval process and not telling me. And so that or making the approval process something wonky that was like super hard to build.
Mm-hmm. I would believe
You're like,
that.
yep, been there. Did you even consult me? No, we just changed this. And so now, and then you always had users that were like, well, but that doesn't go to the right person. I know they changed that without telling me.
Right. And I was supposed to know.
and my time machine, what was that? What's that? Like, I was thinking of that Cerebro from X-Men. My Cerebro's in the shop.
All right. So a couple of screen flow enhancements. So you now have the ability to trigger a screen action without needing a button. So previously we had a button that was in beta. So now that's generally available. So go ahead and use it on all the places, everyone. There's also now a new feature called File Upload Enhanced Beta Component. It's in beta. You can bring in the component, and with File Upload, you can now set it to require files to be uploaded. So like if you have cases, right, and you have a screen flow, you want people to upload files, right? Previously, they could forget about it, and then you're like, oh, well, I wanted you to give me supporting documentation, but there's no way to require that. And now you can. So note that you do need to enable that feature in Salesforce files and setup, and then it'll show up in your screen flows.
So then that puts the file on the record.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes.
These are all things I needed 20 years
Back then,
ago.
right? Back then when we were admins.
Just the number of times I would have, well, first of all, we didn't have screen flow. I envisioned what a screen flow would look like. And then they'd be like, then at this point, it should be like a website and you upload a thing that, maps out all the sites. And I'd be like, that sounds really cool. I wish I could build that. Now it's 2025. Now I could build that.
Yes, without a developer.
And the file just goes to the record and away we go.
Yep. And then lastly, on screen flows, you could so if you have imagine your screen flows, you have multiple columns and fields. Let's say you're collecting an address, right? The street, zip code, state, right? Those are different sizes, right? You typically don't have a long field for a 2-state dropdown or a zip code, right? So now you have the ability to adjust the components and the fields on your screen flows to say, here's the width I want to use, and then do the vertical alignment too. So it really makes your screen flows look so much prettier.
Oh my God.
Than before.
And just useful. It really, I'm watching your GIF and it's the number of street, city, state, zip fields that I've had in orgs that are all the same size. Oh, and everybody's always like, well, how come you can't make it look like an address field? Well, you see, there are reasons, but not anymore.
So yeah, that's my wrap up.
Those are cool.
But there's more in the blog.
I mean, there is. You scrolled through a lot. There's always a ton. And it's a ton, and it's always based on I think it's fun when you go through the stuff, the release notes every year, and you kind of look at it, because the stuff you always get the most excited about are the things that frustrated you, that you kind of knew weren't hard to fix. It was just at some point, it's going to bubble up on the calendar and somebody's going to knock it out. I think that styling for flows is huge. I mean, screen flows for me are the easiest way I can get into flow and kind of understand it, because you can visually see what you're putting in. But the ability to edit the way that looks has always been not the most easy, but this now, I like your example. This is a really long label for a long text area. Yeah. I mean, it spells it out, but it's really helpful to understand, because the end user is the one that's going to stare at it all day. You're going to look at it a few times in testing. And you also talk about icons. Oh, these are cool too.
Oh, those icons that you can use. So if you have a pick list in your screen flow, you can add little icons to make it easier as well. Yes.
It's funny. I was on a unrelated topic. I was at a car show a couple weekends ago, and I ran into somebody and we were talking. He said, oh, well, I code for the university because I live in Iowa City. And I said, oh, cool. He asked me, where do you work? I said, I work Salesforce. Oh, and so immediately he thinks I understand code. I wasn't going to say otherwise. But the next words out of his mouth really caught me off guard. He said, your Lightning design system is probably one of the most well thought out, documented systems I have ever had to work with. And I bring that up because the images of those excellent, good, the way that our iconography kind of looks within the system, I think is really cool. So it was a long walk for a short drink of water, but I think our and it would carry over. Plus, anytime that you can mix things up and use images. I mean, images. Do you remember back in the day, you used to set up a resource library and like import all these images, like 4-star images and 5-star images and stuff. And then you would show that on the screen. I used to have users that were like, "You're a wizard. I can now see stars on my account page." And I was like, "Yes, I am."
I do remember that back in the day.
Because, the edit page would just show them, a number, but the actual page, anyway. Off on tangents.
I do have a note. So there's one thing that is in summer that I didn't include in my blog because I wrote my blog and then I found out that it's in this release. But Prompt Builder undergoes a major UI change. So for those who use prompt templates, check it out. It is a better UI right now in summer. And so think of the little preview section that you have, the resolution. And that has its own tab now, and you don't have that like little window that you have to scroll to see everything. Yes.
Okay. I like that.
Yes.
I was going to say it wasn't that bad. And then I was thinking, I've done a bunch of those Agentforce Now tours.
Yeah, and you're like this itty bitty thing. Like,
well, there's always a part. There's kind of two parts on that. The intro of the Agentforce Now tour that I do. One of them is shortly after you enable the agent, and then you have to show the drop down Open Agent and Builder, and it's literally right at the bottom bar of your web browser. And so I would always tell people, like, look at me in the camera, and I would point. I'd be like, it's at the very bottom because you're probably looking at a screen and you can't find my cursor. It's at the very bottom. And then there was always that. And then the second time was when we would test prompts, like after we've built our first prompt and we brought in some fields in that resolution window, I'd always point, on camera down at the bottom, like it's down at the bottom all the way on the far right. So sticking those in their own, you said they're their own window?
They're like little plus and minuses, and then they'll expand out to show.
So much nicer. So much nicer.
Yeah. So the preview button has also moved up to the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because where it was before kind of didn't make sense.
Yeah. So you can hit this little icon and then set your record, and then you'll hit the preview button next to it, and then it'll do all its magic.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Folks should definitely check that out because it's a great improvement to what it is today.
Absolutely. Jen, thanks for coming by and pointing out some of the newest features. I mean, I'd read your post, but it's kind of always nice to hear from the person and, here's what's really cool. Because sometimes texts on a page just don't convey it.
Yeah, and I just like geeking out about Salesforce, so I can talk about
I know.
features all day long.
I think back to the days of going through the release notes, and now I have this fun competition. And when I say fun competition, it's fun for me. I like to go through the release notes, and then I like to feed the release notes to an AI and be like, what do you think are the top features I would like or top features for admins? And I like to see what it finds versus what I find. Kind of like a treasure hunt.
And what did it do for this release?
It was kind of a little all over the place. Yeah, it wasn't as concise as yours. It also doesn't understand how much, how cool flows are. And so it points things out. I will say this. It's very helpful in getting through sometimes a lot of release notes and finding things you might have not read. I think the one of the coolest pieces of advice I was ever given by somebody was read all of the articles front, end to end that are on the front page of a newspaper. Because most of those articles, very few of them are encompassed all on the front page, but they get you into the newspaper. It's also a good mixture of topics, so it might be things that you not normally read. And I think it was good advice. That is kind of like it's like the AI version of it. Sometimes you got to feed the release notes to some AI and just see what it points out, because it might be things that you scrolled past and had no idea.
Right.
So,
because it's a lot to go through.
I mean, the other part of it too is it's an enterprise level platform. So you kind of want it to be a lot of release notes.
Right.
I do anyway. Anyway, thanks for coming by, Jen. We'll be sure to check out your videos on YouTube, because they're always super explanatory, and they're helping people understand agents and flow, and how agents use flow, and how you can put flow into agents.
Well, thanks for having me, Mike.
You bet. Big thanks to Jennifer for walking us through the Summer 25 updates. It's always a treat to hear her perspective, and it gives that blog post so much more life, right? There's a lot of things that we find out. She walked us through fine-tuning flows and trimming down clicks in user management, and just discovering the magic of the time data type. This release really has something for everybody. You can hear me go through my brain on writing flows with that time data type. I had a moment, I will just say. Be sure to check out Jen's YouTube videos, because she dives through so much stuff, and they are so incredibly useful. And I'll include a link to her blog post as well. And of course, if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and give it a share. Maybe send it to your friends, your admin friends, or other people in the community that would benefit from being up to date on the Summer 25 release features. So with that, until next time, we'll see you in the cloud.